Congress furious tonight at the president's threats to Iran. They're calling for his removal from office, either through impeachment or by invoking the 25th Amendment. And they want to be called back from recess to deal with it. Now, as for the 2-week ceasefire that was just announced, the top Democrat in the House, Hakeem Jeffries, just told Anderson Cooper that's not enough.
A 2-week ceasefire is insufficient. We need a permanent end to Donald Trump's reckless war of choice, which is why House Democrats have demanded that Speaker Mike Johnson immediately reconvene the House back into session so we can move a war powers resolution that will end this conflict permanently.
Joining me now is Democratic Congressman Eugene Goodman. He's a retired Army colonel, veteran of the Iraq War, a former JAG officer, and a member of the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman, thank you for joining us. I'm eager to hear your opinion here because before the ceasefire, there were some Republicans who appeared willing to join Democrats in voting to end this war. Do you think that this ceasefire has changed their minds?
Look, the president's remarks this morning were outrageous. Threatening to end a civilization sounds more like Genghis Khan or Thanos than an American president. I never thought I would hear an American president say that. I think the president has forgotten that America can never be great if America is not good. And so those comments were completely outrageous, and I think rightly started to draw condemnation from Republicans. Why did the president do this? He did this because he didn't have a plan going into this conflict, and so he saw this as an escalation. I don't believe that the Iranians thought that he would follow through. And if you look at the 10-point plan, it is nearly a capitulation. It puts us in a much worse strategic position than we were when the conflict started. And so I think this whole thing, this whole conflict, war of choice that the president started, has left the United States and the American people in a much weaker position, paying higher costs, and it's very unfortunate.
Well, Congressman, I mean, Iran is claiming this ceasefire is a victory for them. Now, Trump is saying otherwise. The United States, he says, has accomplished its military goals. Do you trust that this pause could actually lead to a deal? He says it's essentially a jumping off point for negotiations, maybe not the final say, and according to you, it would be problematic if it were. But do you trust that this pause might lead to a deal that would be advantageous?
Well, advantageous for the United States and America's allies, I am highly skeptical. Look, this is the conflict that involves the U.S., Israel, and Iran. And missiles have continued to fly tonight, even after the announcement. So, even understanding that there may be a lag before the orders go out to units, I am not confident that Israel and Iran will not continue to trade missiles and strikes. And in any case, the Strait, for all intents and purposes, if it opens, there is now a $2 million fee for boats transiting across the Strait. That was not the case before this war started. Iran has had sanctions lifted. They insist, as part of their 10-point plan, that sanctions are removed. Oh, by the way, Russia has also had sanctions removed from its oil exports. And the United States and Western allies, especially those in the Middle East, are in some ways left holding the bag. I think it's just a very unfortunate situation that the president has gotten us into. And we do need to come back as Congress and vote to restrain this president's powers. If there's one thing that we've learned from this conflict is that the president cannot be trusted to deal with these matters in a reasonable way, that he will either make outrageous threats that are unacceptable for a U.S. president, or negotiate in such a way that weakens the United States and weakens our allies.
Well, based in part of how you described it, you have dozens of House Democrats that have called for the president to be removed from office because of this threat to wipe out Iran. Either they're asking for an impeachment, and of course he has been successful in the past in part in that realm for very different reasons, or by the invocation of the 25th Amendment, which you know would require either a voluntary decision to delegate his power, or if the vice president and the majority of his cabinet to agree to do so. Many believe that would be unlikely. So do you think that impeachment or some other effort to remove him is even worthwhile to pursue, or is it symbolic?
Well, look, obviously the president has not followed through on his threat to wipe out the Iranian civilization. Neither has he followed through on his threats against Iranian infrastructure, the destruction of which, if it was purely civilian, would constitute a war crime. So, I think what we need to do is we need to come back to work. We need to have the speaker call us back to work so we can vote on a war powers resolution, so we can exercise our function as a Congress and restrain some of the president's worst impulses. He cannot be trusted to lead this country in wartime. He's frankly not very good at his job. He's negotiating away elements that no president has in the past, allowing Iran to control the Strait of Hormuz. And oh, by the way, there's no mention whatsoever in the 10-point plan on Iranian nuclear program and the highly enriched uranium. So we're in a much worse position than we were just 40 or so days ago before this conflict started.
Congressman Eugene Bidman, thank you for joining.